Welcome back to Stacked, and today we're going to talk about the right form doesn't just collect info, it closes the gap between the lead and the sale. So let me guess, you've got a contact form on your website, fantastic, or maybe you have a survey that's buried in your email, or a quiz that you've been maybe meaning to launch. But here's the truth. Forms, surveys, and quizzes aren't just about gathering data. They're about building connection, qualifying leads, and closing the sale before you ever hop on a call. Save your time. In today's episode of Stacked, we're going to break it down. The difference between forms, surveys, and quizzes, and when to use each, how to build them to create real momentum in your business, and why what happens after submission is actually the make or break moment in your sales process. Let's get into it. So let's define each. Forms are straightforward. They are used for contact, booking, onboarding, payment details, and event registrations. They should be short, clear, and triggered an immediate automation. And that automation might just be, we received your form. We will reach back out to you. Surveys, these are used to collect insights, feedback, or maybe data that you'll use internally. For example, you might have a client feedback. You might have exit surveys, program improvement opportunities, or even just ideal customer research. They're going to build trust, but only if they're followed by a thank you and a next step. And then quizzes, these are a secret weapon. Quizzes are engaging, they're personalized, they're sticky. You can customize the outcome, and when it's done right, they convert like crazy. They help your leads self-identify their stage, their pain point, and their priority without you having to lift a finger. They're also a perfect entry point for an email nurture sequence, or maybe a course upsell, or service recommendations. You're not just collecting data, you're actually doing 4 things. 1, you're pre-qualifying your leads. You're asking the right questions up front so you know who's ready, who needs nurture, and who's just not really your person. 2, you're building micro communities. Every field that they fill out is a little yes. And by the end, they're primed for the big yes, or they're closer to it. 3, you're creating a personalization at scale. Their answers equal your next move. You're speaking to exactly what they need. You're not cold guessing. And 4, you're opening the door to automation. Every submission is a trigger opportunity, and the system will know then exactly what you want it to send, when, and why. So the hidden killer is no delivery or nurture sequence. And here's where most businesses screw this up, right? They build a beautiful form or quiz, someone fills it out, and then crickets. If you don't have a delivery or at least a nurture system in place, you're blowing up trust. You're not leaving it. You are exploding it, and you're leaving cash on the table. Every submission should trigger a personalized email, a valuable freebie, guide, or message, a thank you that sets a clear next step, a tag of the contact in your CRM for segmenting so you can message directly to their wants and desires, and or a follow-up workflow that speaks to their stage or their answers. And this is exactly what we build inside of all of our clients' CRM. Your quiz or form triggers an entire automated path that's going to build trust, it's going to educate your clients, it's going to engage your audience, and eventually it's going to sell. So what are the use cases that close sales, right? So let's get practical here for just a second. Here's a few examples of what we've built. We've used a lead magnet quiz. For instance, this one talks about brand voice. We have 4 different brand voices that are pretty standard and generic that you might fall into. And when you're just getting started with brand voice, labeling, this is a helpful quiz to start with. It's going to ask you a series of questions of words and statements that you might use. It's going to score each one of those answers, and based on the calculation, it's going to tell you what your brand voice is. It's also then going to send you a ChatGPT prompt with your answers already plugged in. All you have to do is copy and paste the prompt into your ChatGPT, and it will automatically train your ChatGPT based on the answers that you provided. So now you're not having to think of what to ask and what to say. You're just simply answering a drop down or a this or that situation. It's much easier for your brain to think through and get an accurate brand voice that way. Maybe you have a lead magnet quiz that goes to a course sale. So what system do you need next quiz? And then it sends custom recommendations based on the answer. And then it nurtures the leads based on the results and offers a paid tool or session. Maybe you have a service inquiry form, right, on your website, and that should lead to a client close. So a service provider uses a multi-step form to pre-qualify leads, and based on the answers, it either triggers onboarding or says, thanks so much, but we're not a good fit, and it only triggers the onboarding if the lead is actually ready. And if they're not ready yet, it sends a nurture email that will then introduce you over time so that they can build trust and awareness. And then it's going to route it to a team member for manual review if it's complex. Maybe you have a client feedback survey that helps with your retention flow. An exit survey is sent at the end of a project, and that has a positive review, and therefore it triggers them to submit a Google review. Or maybe it has a critical response trigger if they don't answer for something that's nice or kind about your company, and that triggers a manual person checking in or an automated win-back sequence so that you can correct the problems the client experienced. So forms, quizzes, and surveys are entry points to conversions. And when you actually build a system behind them, they're going to help you grow and scale way faster. And you don't necessarily even need more forms. You just need forms that are actually doing something, not just collecting the information. If you want us to help you build a quiz, survey, or form that not only collects data, but drives revenue, we're going to set it up inside Dallowry Flow, which is a complete delivery sequence with tagging and follow-ups that actually convert. You can book your session or learn more about our software using the link down below. This is Stacked, where we automate, elevate, and repeat.